All right. Welcome back, mortals, to the realm of Kaiser and Estrella. Last time we played Seduce Me to the Demon War doing Matthew's route. I call him Baby Boy. Last time we played Seduce Me to the Demon War doing Matthew's route. I call him Baby Boy. Duh. Take off Twitch, right? All right, sorry about that. Wow, embarrassing. So, last time we had kind of defended our baby boy Matthew every step of the way. But what ended up happening is that his mother somehow got into his mind and allowed the demon lord to possess him. And so he fucking kills a bitch. He kills someone, and we're just like, oh. That's basically where we left off. We were just like, oh, and Diana is like, yeah, do something. And we are like, no, what do we do? And I mean, the other cool part is that we got to make shadow clones of ourselves. We have dark assassination powers. It's almost sad that, you know, this is all for defense and not offense. So the whole premise is that we're supposed to, like, be able to defend ourselves when the time comes. And yeah, I kind of wish that instead it was like offensive. I want to go swiggity swiggity. So we're just going to dive right in now that we remember what the hell we were doing. Okay, I was about to be like, that's a choice. Why would I load that? Right. So, Matthew is gone. Well, he's not gone. He's stuck in that dome because obviously Diana's not going to let him out because he killed one of our own. And we don't know whether the Demon Lord has, like, control over him, like, continuously or what. We just don't really know what's happening. So, now we're very sad because our fiancé is down for the count. So, I was barely able to eat or leave my room the following 2 days. I stayed in my room, trying to calm down and take everything in. Matthew was a prisoner, and Diana had to pull the control out of him somehow. How was she going to do that? I couldn't be sure, but I was certain that this was going to be a large challenge, especially since the Demon Lord was involved. The other wives visited me, helping me eat and go through what I had trained. However, my mind focused on Matthew. I was worried sick for him. I wanted him to be free, and I wanted him to be okay. So we just stopped training. That's so lame. I just got finished talking about how that was like the coolest part. Oh, man. Alright. Well, yes, we want our fiancé to be okay. That is number one. I knew that this wasn't the case for the moment, but I knew that it had to happen eventually. After all, we were a day away from marching to the siege. Right, so remember last time or it might have been the time before that even, but basically the plan is that we've got this like magical stone wall that's sanctified by holy magic, so that the Demon Lord is literally trapped in his own castle sort of thing. And so now that we've got him pinned, we've been bolstering our forces, training for us to just go all out on the Demon Lord. That is the whole point. And apparently we're only a day away. So, shit's getting real, guys. I gripped my hair and closed my eyes, trying to remember if there was anything I did to help stop the control. I was there for him, but I gripped my hair. Okay? It slowly dawned on me. I was there for him. His love for me was what kept him focused. I was there each time he lost control and managed to bring him down from that. That is true. It was something, a risky something, but something nonetheless. You know, we have shadow shit. We could just like hippity hop in shadow form into that bubble and just shadow kiss him, right? And then he'd be like, whoa, my babe. And we'd be like, yeah, could you like come back out here, you know? And we would live happily ever after, obviously. Forget the Demon Lord, that would be it. Oh, hello. Remember our lovely babe, Diana? Poor Diana. She's probably really upset. I mean, I would be. I rushed out of the room and into the grand hall, seeing Diana continue to stare into the barrier. Inside, however, was Matthew sitting cross-legged and smirking at Diana. Ah, Demon Lord's got control. Matthew. Diana and Matthew looked over to me, surprised to see me enter.
Human, what are you?
I ignored Diana and continued forward, standing in front of the barrier and staring into Matthew's eyes. Matthew, it's me. Wake up and get a hold of yourself. Matthew stared in shock at me before smirking and crawling over with a pout. Ugh! I don't... No! Baby boy, no, please! No.
Is the little human upset that she can't get fucked by her incubus?
Yes! Yes, she is. Give him back. Yes, Demon Lord, that is exactly why I want him back. Okay? I can't have you. I don't want no three ways, okay? This is between me and him, and you are the odd one out. Get the fuck out of my boyfriend's body, okay? Okay, I had to ignore him. The Demon Lord was taunting me, tempting me to get angry. Still, I concentrated on Matthew's eyes, knowing Matthew was in there somewhere. Maybe he's being, like, held... Like, his focus, his spirit is, like, being, like, captured by his mother, I feel like. You know, like, drawing him in so that the Demon Lord can, like, take control of the physical realm. Matthew, I know you're there. You can fight this. I know you can. Diana's just like, all right. I could see a small glimmer in Matthew's eyes, proving that I was right. I smiled and pressed my hands against the walls of the barrier, trying to press myself against the magic blocking Matthew from me. That's not safe. Listen to me. You can stop this. You can do this yourself. You don't need your brother's help. This is all you, buddy. I began to fill with hope. Despite my words also reaching the Demon Lord, Matthew was also listening, and I could only hope that my love was fueling his need to stop his father's control. The barrier beneath my hands slowly began to de-solidify as my body slowly pressed into the wall and suddenly barrel rolled inside. What? Oh dear. Oh, that's not safe. I'm gonna get strangled. I am going to die. Gah!
No!
Oh shit. Is he naked? No. Dang it. I wanted him to be. I feel like the Demon Lord would be that kind. He would just be like, my son, no, whip, like, pants are off, be your demon-y self. That's a good point. I noticed that Matthew has not turned into his demon form despite the Demon Lord being in control. You wouldn't think that he would, like, if the Demon Lord is in, like, full control, you'd think he'd be like, what the fuck is this human form? I am immortal. Get me out of this. Yeah, I feel like he would just, like, black wings unfurl, that sort of thing. I looked up, finding myself inside the barrier somehow, looking around and seeing Matthew staring at me intensely. Ugh. I gulped, knowing that the Demon Lord was still there, running Matthew's every movement, every word that ran from his lips. Ugh. Still, I believed in him. I slowly stood up and walked over, opening my arms for him. You are gonna die! Oh my god, you are going to die. Matthew, I love you and I'm here for you. Please, break through this and come back to me. Matthew's just like, inner war right now. Slowly, Matthew walked forward, shakily reaching out his hands for me. I could see the desperation in his eyes as he tried to listen. Yes, that was it. I walked forward and held his hands before feeling them slide up my cheeks, warming my face with his palms. You know that's a great position for him to snap your neck. I hope you realize this.
You.
For a moment, a glimmer of his blue eyes filled my heart with joy. I gripped his hands, desperate for him to hang on and fight. Finally, Matthew gritted his teeth and released my face, gripping his head.
Get out of my head!
Yeah, go! Matthew! I rushed over, wrapping my arms around his back as Matthew sank to his knees, digging his fingers into his hair. I could hear Diana trying to see what was going on, but my body managed to block her view. Matthew looked up at the wall and snarled.
Get out!
Ah! Oh! Matthew shouted at the sky, arching back and releasing a large red wave of energy from his body. It zipped into the air and broke free of the barrier, circling over the ceiling like a thundercloud. In quick response, Diana pointed her hands out and formed a large purple orb in her hand before tossing it at the energy, capturing it in another cage and letting it hit the ground locked inside. So we've got, like, maybe not, like, the Demon Lord spirit entirely, but at least, like, maybe some sort of, like, fraction of it. My focus, however, was on Matthew. He panted and coughed, clasping over his neck and chest in pain as he shut his eyes tightly. I barely noticed the sound of Matthew's brothers and their wives running in to see what had happened. How would they know? I lifted Matthew in my arms and caught his eyes as he opened them, seeing the man I loved once again back in my arms. Aw. Matthew? Matthew very slowly let a grin run across his face as he lifted a hand and cupped my cheek. Aw, yay.
Hey, beautiful.
Aw, you. I'm so glad you're not the Demon Lord anymore. I'm so glad you're the nice man that I love once again. My breath hitched as I quickly fell forward and wrapped my arms around Matthew, uncaring that the barrier around us was slowly being dispelled by Diana. Matthew wrapped his arms around my form, hugging me tightly and kissing over my neck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, well, she would say, like, you're welcome, instead of, like, you're welcome. A little less sass. The moment seemed to last forever, a private world with me and Matthew in each other's arms, desperate not to let go. However, Diana's voice caused us to slowly separate and look up at her.
Not that I care that I am breaking this moment apart, but we have more important things to do than this.
I mean, she's right. Diana. Diana rolled her eyes and took up the orb that held the Demon Lord's control energy, staring into it with a piercing gaze.
I will take care of this, but I'm positive that this is not all of it. After all, he did control you enough to kill.
I felt myself slump over. She really wasn't going to forgive him, but she was right. The Demon Lord's control was ultra powerful. Who knew how much the control he really had? Yeah. Someone lost their life. We cannot just, like, oh, it's fine. You know, it was Joe Schmo, the demon. He was like, what a rascal. Diana sighed and willed the orb away into the air before looking at us.
Well then, I've spent enough time fixing this. Now I must prepare for a war. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's another good point. Here she is trying to, like, you know, win a war, like she just said. I mean, and she's having to deal with this bullshit, deal with my, like, potential marriage bullshit. Come on, man, that's not... Yeah. Not cool. Diana nodded to us and left without another word. Matthew, however, grinned at me and nuzzled my forehead. Oh, good.
I guess I really did need saving after all.
Oh, Lord! You saved yourself, baby boy. I just gave you good motivation. I shook my head, knowing that was not true. I was there to help, not there to save. I kissed Matthew's cheek and smiled. I only helped you do it on your own. You broke his control over you, not me. Yeah, I didn't do shit. I just kind of looked at you like, Matthew, come back to me. We chuckled for each other, slowly standing and happy to be in each other's arms at last. James, however, stepped forward with a frown, causing Matthew to release me.
Matthew, I apologize for not being a proper brother for you and treating you with the respect you deserved. I would never want you to not trust me or the others.
Oh. I honestly did not expect, that. I'm really trying to remember. I mean, yeah, that is part of, like, Matthew's, whole deal is that, you know, he's treated like a baby, which is why we call him Baby Boy. I also think that his, like, bond to his mother was really different, than with the other, sons. Also, I don't honestly think that any of them actually share the same mother, to be quite honest. Especially in the beginning when, Mother Dearest was like, you didn't hold your covenant to me, you know, your promise, you know, the bonds of marriage, whatever. And, so, yeah, it's really I don't remember why the brothers would have a reason to act that way towards him, but, you know, In agreement, the other brother stepped up and nodded, ashamed as well. Matthew stared at all of them in shock before kissing my cheek and stepping towards them. Well, at least this is, they're facing their problems, and, having siblings is so hard. It's so hard. For example, my role, I'm like half mother, half sister with my 2 younger siblings. And it's hard sometimes because I have memories where it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or oh, I should have done that. But it's like, oh, but that wasn't my responsibility because I was a sister, and, I don't have to be a mother. And sometimes it's hard to tell what, your loved ones need. It's not just siblings, like what the people you care about need from you. It's always hard. Family is hard. Never do it. It's just so hard.
Hey. You're my brothers. We're supposed to support and protect each other, right?
Yeah, you said it. All 5 of them smiled at each other as I felt myself needing to rest once more. Yeah, man, those 5 steps and like a couple hugs just wore me out, man. I've been doing nothing in my room for 48 hours in Demon World time. I am exhausted. I held the wall slightly, maintaining my balance as I shook my head and looked up at the brothers, seeing them happily rekindle the brother they loved they had before. Yeah. Typo. That's okay. I just find it funny. It's like James is sitting there all like, I'm fully dressed and in this like really business casually type of outfits. And he's over there shirtless. Hey, brother, how's it going? I looked at the wives winking before sneaking out. Matthew needed some time with his brothers to settle some differences. I would wait for him in the room. Oh, yes. Proper waifu tactics. I began to make my way back to my room, but stopped as I heard the sound of whispered voices sneaking out through a barely opened door. Ooh!
So, we're all in agreement?
Oh no. What are we in agreement about?
We have to. We don't have any choice anymore.
Well, shit.
It will be for the better, I'm sure.
Oh no.
Indeed.
I peeked into the room to see the interior of the library where the 4 rebel leaders stood in a circle. Sergeant leaned against the fireplace mantel, while Rabbit and Shadow sat in 2 empty chairs. Faye, however, floated to and fro from side to side in anxiousness. Faye is so cute. What are they talking about? I was so engrossed in figuring out what was happening in the room that I didn't notice a figure coming up behind me and pushing me into the room. Oh, shit! Gah! It's probably Diana.
Sir, I found your student eavesdropping.
Oh, shit! I'm gonna die.
I'm not surprised.
Oh shit, I'm gonna die. I grimaced, now out in the open. The 4 stared at me with cold eyes, as if they were ready to send me back to the human world as a corpse rather than going through with the siege. What? What did I do? What? I looked up at all of them as I slowly rose to my feet, eyeing each leader as I considered running for the door. However, they looked to each other in contemplation.
Say, you didn't hear anything, did you?
They're conspiring against Diana. They are so... That is what they are doing. That is what they are doing. Or maybe it's not direct conspiring. Maybe it's, if Diana loses, they were considering how they would basically suck up to the Demon Lord. That is my hypothesis. So, just as a quick side note here, I totally thought that each of these routes would kind of follow the same story, but so far these haven't, like, this isn't like Damien's route, like, not even a little bit. So, yeah, this is really interesting. Okay. No, I swear. Yeah, I didn't hear shit.
What was the last thing you heard?
Rabbit, I don't like the suspicion in your voice. Mercy! I thought that heroes never die! For a price, but, you know... Alright. So... we're gonna say, having no choice. I suddenly felt the guards of each leader behind me readying their weapons. What the hell? Were they seriously going to kill me for walking by and eavesdropping? Maybe they shouldn't have, like, a fucking open door to the library.
Whoa! Hold on, guys!
Yeah, Jesus Christ! I felt the guards back away from me slowly, most likely still cautious of me. I let out a small sigh, happy I wasn't going to die, at least not immediately. Rabbit, however, looked to me with an ear twitching in curiosity.
Let us ask first. Do you know what has been truly happening with Diana?
No. I looked to Rabbit, knowing what she meant. What? No, I don't know what she means! Diana had been acting oddly, and it was not boding well. The more I saw her, I could tell that something was seriously weighing her down and influencing her words. Alright, well, yeah, but what does that have to do with this meeting? As I answered, the other demons looked once again to each other before Shadow stepped forward nonchalantly.
Let's not play the ignorance game. We're going to assassinate the succubus when the war is over.
I knew it! Wow, that's not how Damien's route went at all. What? What? She's not a bad person. Why would you do that? No. Oh my god. I'm so upset right now because I love Diana. Like, Diana is like one of my favorite characters. Why would you kill her? What?
Oh, what the fuck?
I agree, Sergeant.
Need to just blurt it out!
There's no use in hiding it. We don't know how much she has heard.
I became massively confused. Why were they going to kill her? How are they even going to do it? Why? What good would coming out of killing her? Rabbit stood and walked to the fireplace, staring into the open flames. I could tell I was about to get an answer, so I listened intently, wanting to know why they were planning Diana's murder.
Diana, we fear, has become corrupted.
Corrupted by? What do you mean?
Meaning, she's going batshit crazy like the Demon Lord.
Uh-huh. I furrowed my eyebrows. That couldn't be. She seemed mostly fine, save for a few instances here and there. Sergeant, reading my face, pushed himself off the mantel and stood up straight, reminding me of his power with his stance. Fuck off, dude. I could go into the shadow realm, and good luck trying to kill a shadow, you little shit. Now, of course, you know, Shadow himself would act, he could totally kill me. But, Sergeant, you can just fuck off.
Human, you hate the Demon Lord as much as we do, correct?
I mean, probably not. I mean, he's just kind of like fucked with my life for a little bit. It's not like he killed my grandpa or anything, like someone we know. I glared at Sergeant's stupid question. Of course I hated him. He had trapped me here, he had forced me and the ones I loved to join this war. There was no reason to even remotely like him. At my glare, Faye's swooped in between me and Sergeant, waving their arms frantically.
Listen, we're not trying to make you mad, but, well...
This is ridiculous.
Shadow stood from his seat, now clearly irritated and stepping towards me.
Succubus has gone mad, and if we don't end her life before she takes the throne, then she will become as mad as the Demon Lord. There is no saving her. Understand?
No, I don't understand because you're fucking wrong.
Oh, come on, Shadow! Seriously?
Yeah!
No, this is beyond unnecessary. All three of you are complicating the matter when all that needs to be stated is the truth.
This is true. But, I mean, she doesn't seem like they have they even investigated why she might be going insane? Have, you know, like, way to just throw in the towel, guys. So much for saving lives. Apparently this is all just about, you know, like, oh, well, you know, Terry the demon, he missed a speck on the floor. You know what that means? Time to cut him off. It's time to go. But how can that be? How is Diana mad like the Demon Lord? None of this made sense. Diana seemed mostly right in her head. However, she was strong enough to lead an army and help me survive until now. She even aided the incubi. These weren't the actions of a madwoman. Shadow rolled his eyes and went back to his seat as Faye put their hands behind their back, swaying a bit in the air.
Well, here's the thing. Here in the demon world, emotions and stuff can be uber powerful. Things like extreme grief or euphoria can even become energies on their own, while other feelings become, well, they can become very, very bad things.
Well, it's obviously not a very, very bad thing right now. Like madness?
Yeah. Madness is more than just a head-mind thingy. Here in this world, it's like a leech or a virus. When a demon catches it, madness just grows and grows until it consumes them, like it did with the Demon Lord.
So are you telling me that the Demon Lord at one point was like a sane, entity, a good, maybe even benevolent ruler, and then he went crazy? This is such a cop-out. You guys, come on. You're just saying, well, it's like AIDS. As soon as you have it, well, it's over. It's like, no. Okay, actually, first of all, AIDS, I think, I'm trying to remember. I think they have a cure now for the HIV virus, which is so fucking awesome. But I think it's really expensive to get the medicine, the shot, whatever. I feel like in the next 100 years, they probably will be able to cure AIDS, because if they could just, I know this is going to sound crazy, but if they could 3D print white blood cells that could actually act as, white blood cells belonging to the normal human body, I mean, you just pump them in there, as long as as long as the body doesn't reject them, ta-da, you've got a better immune system and AIDS will go away. Anyway, that was a tangent. Going on. So she's just copping out. Taking the new information in, I looked to the floor, thinking of the Demon Lord and how psychotic he was said to have become. He waged wars and apparently enjoyed burning down kingdoms, slaughtering the innocent. It was how far madness would take a demon than I feared for anyone who was capable of falling into it.
You can become mad in multiple ways. By being born mad or being infected by it. Diana has fought the Demon Lord head on multiple times during the past 10 years. It was inevitable that she would catch the affliction.
So you allied with her with the full intent of it coming to this in the first place. Y'all are fucked up. You can catch madness? How is that possible?
We don't know, but this wouldn't be the first time someone who used to be sane went mad because they were around another crazy demon.
There was an uneasiness in the room. Something told me that none of them believed that this was the true cause. There's more, isn't there?
Huh?
I became bold. If Diana had to die, then there had to be a solid reason, and the madness excuse wasn't enough. Thank you. Why were they planning it if none of them truly believed it? It's not just because she's mad, isn't it? Something else is wrong. The rebel leaders became silent, letting the tension lay in the air in plain view and giving me my answer. I was right. There was more to this story.
Who are you to question our reasons?
Who are you? Shadow stepped up to me and leaned in close to my face. As I stared into his black eyes, I could feel the world around me grow darker. He was truly a scary being, and his cold tone made me that much more afraid of him. We've studied under him.
You're a human. You have no say in what we do here in this world.
God, you're just a fucking dick. I was really hoping that by, learning under him, that we would, become friends, that, things would, evolve into actually some sort of, subplot. This guy's just a fucking asshole. But
we are not asking for your permission.
My anger suddenly exploded. I was pulled into the room and being treated like dirt. I didn't appreciate it one bit, so I straightened up and got into Shadow's face. I'm not asking for yours either. I just want to know. Shadow and I continued to glare at each other before Shadow scoffed and turned away, crossing his arms. Rabbit shook her head, tapping her staff on the ground.
Regardless, we can't have you remembering the conversation we had here if we are set on stopping her.
I took a step back, now afraid. Were they really going to kill me? Faye sensed my fear and waved their hands wildly.
Whoa! Hey, hold on! We're not gonna hurt you or anything!
I don't fucking believe you. Fuck you. You're talking about killing someone. Obviously, I'm just another, thing to add onto the list. I'm just a lowly human to you. Fuck you, Faye. That was somewhat of relief. But what were they going to do? As I took a breath, Shadow spoke up, catching my attention.
Curious human. Do you believe in the succubus?
What? The other rebel leaders looked to Shadow as he placed a hand on his chin in thought and peered into my eyes.
Who do you believe should rule this world? The succubus? Or one of us?
And suddenly I became the focal point of the entire war's resolution. Why was my opinion important? I looked to the floor, trying to mull over his question, and came up with an answer. I'm gonna have to choose. Diana had saved my life and was doing everything to make sure I could go back to the human world as safely as possible. Still, from how she was behaving, something was indeed seriously off with her. Was she really ready to take the throne? The four rebel demons before me, however, were all smart and balanced each other out in some shape or form. I could tell that they could all bring peace to the world in some way, but did Diana really have to be eliminated for that to happen? I felt like I was standing on a precipice. That's how you say it, precipice? Yeah. I knew that if I sided with Diana, then she would eventually be eliminated by these four unless she found out beforehand. I could warn her, but what if these demons erased my memories or threatened my life? I was bouncing on the edge of a knife and had to pick a direction to fall. I closed my eyes and answered Shadow's question. Well, fuck. This just seems so random. I mean, like, poor Diana, alright? She does everything in her power to, you know, save her kingdom from the demon lord. Comes back finding out that they've all been murdered anyway. She's never known romantic love, you know, like her, you know, we know Seto is all over her, but she's just like, what is love? I don't know. Ah! You know, and she's grieving. She's been running this war for 10 years. 10 years. And she's done everything. She gave Sergeant the proper send-off for their people. I don't know what she's done for the others, but surely it was a good deal, right? And as soon as, you know, Diana's about to, you know, give the final blow, you know, as soon as Diana is about to do all the hard shit for them, they're gonna kill her. I mean, what the fuck? You know? What is up with that? This is so wrong. But on the other hand, you know, what the dialogue was saying, it's like, okay, so if I say I believe in Diana, they're probably gonna, well, they're not gonna kill me. I don't think they're gonna kill me. But they're gonna erase my memory, and they're gonna plot behind her back. Whatever's wrong with Diana is not gonna get resolved. At least that's what I think. It's not gonna get resolved because, well, they've obviously put a lot of thought into, you know, fixing her instead of just killing her, obviously. So much effort, right? So, I feel like, because then they're gonna, vie for power. And I feel like Shadow would be the one to, I feel like, honestly, that, I feel like Sergeant and Shadow would be the ones to duke it out in the end, and Faye and Rabbit would just get slaughtered. Maybe not. I mean, I know that Rabbit is like a, you know, crazy sorceress lady, but like, she's like Mercy. I'm sure she's squishy. I gotta make a decision. Well, it's totally fucked up, but I want to see what happens when I'm like, I believe in you all, even though I don't. They were right. She was very powerful, and if she was truly corrupted, that she needed to be cut off before she caused any damage. Why do we have to kill her? Thoughts of revenge bubbled in my mind, reminding me how horrible she had been in the human world when she had tried to take the boys away from me. She had the gall to take my energy and test me at school as some sort of sadistic teacher. I don't remember. I don't remember that from the first game. I'm sure it happened. I'm very sure, but she had this coming to her. So in this playthrough, I guess it's just like, oh, well, she was a bitch in the first game, so... Oh, that makes me so sad. The four in the room stared at me, taking in my reply.
I'm fairly shocked.
Well, now what do we do with her?
Me? I waited as the group looked to each other before Faye magically formed a small vial in her hand.
Should we give it to her? She's close enough to her.
They're gonna make me kill her! Oh no! Oh no! Huh? Give what? Faye ignored me and passed the vial to Shadow, who began to imbue it with his own dark magic. Slowly the glass began to fill with dark, inky liquid, stopping a quarter of the way up. Was it poison? Shadow passed it to Rabbit, who did the same, creating a purple liquid within the vial and swirling it around to mix the liquids together. The contents separated a bit, causing a strangely beautiful gradient effect. Here, so you can see it. As Sergeant took hold of it, it began to fill with green liquid, becoming mixed with the poison already within the vial. So it's like, they're all just like, here's the most deadly thing from my race of people, my species of people. And here we go, it's fine. Finally, Faye took the vial back and shoved a cork into the top before shaking the mixture violently. As they did, a strange gray energy began to glow around it, pulsing like a heartbeat and slowly until it eventually faded away.
There.
From the tone of her voice, the decision to truly go through with this was solidified. They were all serious in wanting Diana to die. I felt a little pity for what was to come. God, this is terrible. Faye turned and floated to me, holding out the vial.
We were gonna give this to her during the final celebration after the siege, but we're pretty sure that guard will be watching her like a hawk.
Then why give it to me?
Because she trusts you. I have a theory that she'll pull you aside, away from everyone else, to have a little chat before you're sent back to the human world.
How can you be so sure? Shadow smirked.
Because when we tried to send you home, she tried to slip in an extra item onto the spell reagent list. And according to my recent studies, it is actually very important to demons like her. I suspect that she was going to give it to you as a gift.
That makes it just that much worse. What the fuck?
Since the gate spell didn't work, she probably took the time to find it herself. She'll take you aside and give it to you before you leave, which will give you the chance to be alone with her.
I was surprised. Diana was going to give me something important? I was curious as to what it was, but my thoughts trailed off as I stared at Faye's hands, which were still holding the vial of poison.
I guess it was a good thing you listened in then. Makes our job a bit easier.
Yeah, you're just passing the baton off. You're making me a murderer. I slowly reached out and took the vial, feeling a very subtle heartbeat emit from it. It took every ounce of will I had not to drop it in surprise. Was this thing alive? I brought it close and examined it, practically feeling its power. If Diana was as powerful as they expected, then how powerful was this potion? Poison. I was paying such close attention to the vial in my hand that I didn't see Faye swooping back behind me and grabbing my head. Ugh. What the?
Sorry.
All at once, my mind began to become fuzzy and light. What was happening to me?
Is that really necessary?
No, it's not!
It will lower the risk of her telling anyone about our plans until the chance arises. When it does, she'll remember everything and know what to do.
I would forget about this? How did this make sense? I didn't get a chance to fight back until my vision blacked out. I shut my eyes and felt the world spin around me before I relaxed as silence overtook my senses. My body floated for a bit in an empty void before softly landing on a surface, causing me to open my eyes and look around. Huh? What happened? I was in the hallway on the floor. How did I get here? I was on my way to my room. Weird. I stood up, brushed myself off, and looked around, hoping that no one saw me snoozing on the floor. When I noticed that the coast was clear, I quickly continued on my way to my room. I must have been more tired than I thought. What if I drank that vial? I mean, granted, it would be really stupid if I did, but okay, it could. Oh, God. Finally returned to our room and flopped onto the bed, letting the events of the night of my time in the abyssal plains replay in my mind. I had been trapped here, and soon enough I was about to go marching into battle against the demon lord for my own freedom. The more I thought about it, the more surreal the feeling became. I was going to be in a room meeting a powerful adversary face to face and set myself free of the curse he brought down upon me. What made my head spin was the fact that Matthew had been under the influence of his father and mother's control. How do I know about the mother's part? I'm upset that the mother part wasn't really explained. Like, all we know is from the beginning that the Demon Lord was like, hey babes, give me your power. And she was like, I guess. And then somehow, like, I was hoping that Matthew, you know, like, it would be more like, you know, maybe I go into Matthew's psyche and, like, confront his mother, and I'm like, don't you want him to be happy? You know, like, that sort of thing. Like, actually confront it instead of, I don't know. But whatever. You know, let's just chalk it up to demon magic and move on, I guess. It was beyond imaginary, yet it happened. I couldn't believe it, but at the same time, I had no choice but to come to terms with it. As Matthew entered the room at last, I smiled and stood walking over and wrapping my arms around him as he returned my embrace.
You're the best person in the entire universe. You know that?
Well, I'm about to become a murderer, so, no, I disagree with you. You are too, Matthew. We held each other, locked in silence and unable to say anything more. We had been in a heavy predicament and we escaped. Sure, the Demon Lord may still have had some sway over Matthew, but it wasn't enough to control him now. I don't know. We don't know that. All we could do in the moment was hold each other and listen to our synchronized heartbeats. Yes, we're about to both be murderers, then we will both be, you know, incompatible. As the thought of tomorrow danced in my head, I began to fear it any more. Was I ready to go into battle? Was Matthew? Were any of us, for that matter? We were about to walk into the final battle of a world war. Would we survive? Would I live to see Matthew afterward and feel his embrace again? Tomorrow brought too many questions to think about, and I became frustrated and scared. Make love to Matthew or sleep? Well, you know, for the sake of Twitch and YouTube's, we are gonna sleep. We would survive. It's okay. I felt safe in Matthew's arms, and I sure he felt safe in mine. We would return to the human world and be okay. Matthew slowly walked me back to bed, and both of us tucked ourselves in, wrapping each other in our arms and escaping one last time to the darkness of slumber. To the darkness. Tomorrow would decide everything. The day of the siege had finally dawned. We had arrived at the Demon Lord's castle, and we were as ready as we could be. Many armies bearing different banners and colors washed over the grounds before the castle, ready to rush in and lay waste to the Demon Lord and the remainder of his forces. All of us shared a common enemy, and upon his demise would finally all know some sort of peace. Except for Diana, who's going to get the final piece. Good God, I'm still upset. Can you tell? If she actually ends up dying, I will probably reload and see what happens. During the roll call of the major generals, the air became full of determination and pride.
Mirth, Avarice, Nadia, Fiorna, Aradum.
Each name called became a mark on history. This was the war to bring freedom or destruction to the demon world. If the rebellion didn't win this fight, then this war would never end. If the rebellion won, then the world would become united in a hopefully peaceful rule. The hour before the battle was set to take place. My thoughts instantly ran back to our final meeting in Lilith Castle. Diana had pulled the leaders and us together, instructing us on how exactly to proceed.
Zero, you will be joining Shadow and Sergeant in the front, taking care of the main army head-on. I expect that you will come out of it alive.
Yes, my lady.
Rabbit, Faye, you are in charge of range attacks and defense. We cannot allow any of those blasted imps getting to us from behind.
Yes, ma'am!
God, I'm so upset. As Diana looked to me, I grew slightly fearful. I had to get into the Demon Lord's castle, but how exactly did Diana plan on getting me there? I have shadow abilities now!
You and your fiancé will take the side route straight to the castle.
Oh, that's safe. Wait, huh?
We've organized our army to have our strongest on the front lines and against the tree line, giving us a side route for you to make your way straight to the castle.
If anything trickles into the side route, you'll be able to handle it. However, there is something I must ask of you.
And? What is it?
If you are indeed attacked, you need to defend your fiancé the entire way there. Do not let him use his energy.
Doshite desu ka?
No way!
Yeah!
When you get to the castle, I will be fighting one-on-one with the Demon Lord. If something should happen to me, then I need you to take over. She is not ready to fight him, and you need to be at full strength to finish him off.
That is true.
The humans should be able to handle a few imps.
I stared, listening and reaffirming the order. I couldn't lie, I was very nervous. However, I was determined enough to see this through. I looked over at my fiancé with a confident smile. I got this. Don't worry. Despite the worried look in his eyes, he nodded and held my hand, trusting me in my decision to agree with Diana's command. Diana rolled her shoulders and looked at the map draped over the war table between us all. Her gaze pierced into the parchment as the aura around her body pulsated in anger. Oh dear.
I will fly ahead and meet the Demon Lord head on. No matter what happens, I will not allow that monster to live.
The pure determination and anger in her voice practically sent a shiver down my spine. She was set on seeing this through to the end, and I was sure that she was willing to die, willing to even die if it meant taking the Demon Lord with her. Honestly, that would be a more merciful death than what is in store. God, oh, I'm so upset. The remaining incubi and the wives were asked to stay behind the army and guard the main base where Rabbit and Faye were stationed. They trained all week and they're just like, and you guys just stay in the back. You're actually completely unneeded characters. So the 4 couples were perfect to keep things in check. As they agreed, the meeting ended and the mental preparation had begun. The idea of the upcoming battle scared me, sending waves of fear and worry up and down my body in response to the thought.
Man, well, I'm nervous. How about you?
I am too. Yeah. Matthew wrapped an arm around my waist and turned my body toward him, hugging me closely.
Hey, everything will be okay, alright?
If you say so. I listened to him speak before nodding, taking in a deep breath. Everything would be okay. We would be fine. I had to believe in myself and to get us to the castle when the time was right. Like a beacon, our forces became the banner of hope and strength for the rebellion. At the sight of Diana, many soldiers bowed or stared in awe and inspiration. So, she's the leader of these armies. If she dies, how are those 4 going to, maintain control? Morale is a really strong thing. I bet you that this choice is gonna send everyone into, just a crazy, scramble for power. It's gonna be terrible. I'm ready. I want to see, what happens when Diana falls, because I think that the 4 are gonna get what's coming to them. At the sight of Diana, many soldiers bowed or stared in awe and inspiration. Maybe it was her presence, or maybe it was what she stood for. But as Diana stood at the cliffside of the mountain, the air became full of energy and power. My fiancé, Rabbit Faye, and I stood behind her as Diana stood on the ledge of the cliffside, addressing the rebellion for their final battle. Her voice echoed across the field, booming and reverberating through the air like thunder. Well, that's inspiring. Well, cool. What is she saying?
She said that we're all fighting for freedom and that she'll lead us to it.
Oh, thank you, Thank you, Matthew. Is that it?
Pretty much. Everything else she's saying is just to rile everyone up for battle.
I nodded as I stared at the back of Diana's head. A part of me felt a little intimidated and jealous of the power she had. That's not good. She really could make armies bow to her and obey her every whim. Intimidated and jealous? Come on. I'm better than that. I don't need to bring another lady down. Let her have... She's a princess. She's been groomed for this since birth. I don't want to be the fucking queen of the demon kingdom. I already have my own kingdom. The kingdom of Kaiser and Estrella. At the same time, I knew that she was doing the right thing for this world. Yeah, but apparently we're still gonna kill her. I wonder if the assassination plot is actually just part of Shadow's, quote-unquote, sub-route. Rabbit and Faye stepped forward and held their hands out towards the castle, focusing their energies and forcing the stone walls around it to crumble and dissolve into the earth. Right, so we just brought down the wall that we had created. Diana summoned her saber, letting it shine brilliantly as the purple taint over her skin began to twist and turn. Before my eyes, the taint on her back took a shape, lifting off of Diana's skin and morphed into a set of demonic wings. I could only stare, jaw dropped, as Diana's body lifted off the ground and began to fly over the legions, slowly gliding towards the castle.
To war! To battle!
Hell yeah! At her final command, Diana's wings pulsated in the air, flapping gracefully as she swooped down and forward. She was charging and flying for the castle walls, saber bared and ready to spill blood. As the armies below began to bellow and march forward, Rabbit took hold of my shoulder and turned me away from the castle to face her.
Come, we must hurry.
Oh, hey! Look at his horns and his body markings. You're looking cute, babes. Understanding the need for urgency, I nodded and rushed forward with the rest of the incubi towards the slope down the mountainside.
Everything is in order. Sergeant Diana's guard are at the front lines, while Shadow is with his legion to the west.
Thanks.
Are we good with our sneak attack plan?
We've done what we can to keep your way clear. We'll try to make sure the battle won't break through the path.
I nodded, feeling the need to rush nip at my heels, pushing me forward. My fiancé seemed to agree, gripping my hand and walking at my pace alongside me. However, as we finally arrived at the forest line, Faye and Rabbit stopped, looking back at us.
Straight through here. The sound of the war will always be on your right, so do not get lost.
Why would we? It's a straight fucking line!
You'll be fine, though. Just follow the tree line.
In sync, my fiancé and I nodded in acknowledgement before turning to see the other brothers and their wives. So, this is it.
Remember your surroundings and protect each other.
What if I say no?
Be careful, alright? Make sure you stay safe.
Her voice is very fragile.
Princess, brother, we'll see you in the end.
Indeed.
We have faith in you. You'll make it there, and we'll return to the human world soon.
I love her voice. It's very silky smooth.
Kick his dead body a couple times for me, alright?
I love Sam's voice.
Right in the head.
Right in the head.
We'll be right here rooting for you and watching your back, okay?
Hell yeah. Thanks, Carrie.
We'll win this. We know we can.
You can do this. We'll see you soon, okay?
Her voice totally matches that name, Twilla. It's like, Twilla, Twilla. I smiled despite the nerves running through my body. I held onto my fiancé's hand and gave it a hard squeeze before receiving one back in kind. We'll finish this, and then we'll go home. The group nodded before I slowly turned and looked toward the tree line. I took a breath and rushed forward. Matching my speed, my love followed, weaving through the trees behind me not to lose sight of me. The journey was surprisingly uninterrupted. The sound of war clashed beside us, causing me to cover my ears a bit from the volume, but I shook my head and pressed forward, not wanting to become distracted. The goal was to get to the castle. I had to focus. Before I could, however, I was pulled back by Beyoncé, barely missing an arrow fly past my nose. Whoa! I quickly turned my head and spotted a small group of imps creeping towards me, with one reloading its bow with another arrow. I quickly grabbed my incubus and he's my incubus! And focused on making us become one with the shadow part of the tree we were under. As the dark consumed our bodies, I felt my energy pulse from the amount being used. Still, I successfully dragged us both into the shadow plane.
Huh? Where are we?
Doko desu ka? I looked back at him and smiled with a nod, knowing that he was completely unaware of what I had learned in my training. After all, he had been focused on improving himself. And, killing people. Well, only one person, but still. I lowered my hand to his and grasped it, rushing forward and pulling him along. He managed to trip a bit before following along, keeping my pace. Even as some hideaway scouts and trickling soldiers came in our path, we simply ran through them unseen. It took the man behind me a bit to take it in. Oh, right. But he quickly adjusted, knowing that now wasn't the time to focus on that. I, however, felt my energy drain quickly. I was maintaining two people in the shadow plane after all. It only made sense that it used more energy. Still, I wanted us to get as far as I could before returning to the real world. I gripped onto my incubus's hand as hard as I began to wane, slowly slowing my run and feeling a heavy wave of dizziness consume my mind. Soon enough, warmth returned to my body and we were both set to the corporeal demon world. Of course, it couldn't have been a perfect straight journey without a couple of final guards at the edge of the tree line waiting for us. A band of remaining imps caught my eye, taking in that I had successfully maneuvered around their lines and reached them. I grimaced and glared at the imps, seeing the group of 3 rush at us despite the weak feeling in my knees. I, however, had one last trick up my sleeve. I focused on my shadow, commanding it to come forth and defend me. My incubus and the imps gasped as a dark, shadowy figure of me sprouted from the ground and formed a large sword in her hands. I glared at the imps and pointed at them, feeling my energy quickly drain once again. Get them. On my command, the shadow rushed forward and began to slice through the imps, effectively disconnecting their limbs from their bodies and cutting them open. Each tried to block, but only managed to have their attacks phase through my shadow like mist. They couldn't touch me, and I couldn't kill them. Oh, but I could kill them. They couldn't touch me, but I could kill them. See, that's useful. I smirked as my shadow quickly zipped between them in figure 8s, ripping each of them apart before letting them fall to the ground, bleeding out and wailing in pain. Whoa! That was all I could do before my energy finally forced my shadow back into the ground, a wave of exhaustion rolling through my body. I began to fall forward, exhausted. My fiancé, however, quickly rushed forward and caught me in his arms.
Whoa! Are you alright?
I am. Huh? I looked up to see Matthew staring down at me, fear and concern dancing in his eyes. We were safe for the moment, so I merely smiled up at him with a nod. I'm fine. I promise to protect you like you protect me. Matthew let out a small laugh before pressing his forehead against mine. We're in the middle of a word. And he's like, aw, she's so cute.
What would I ever do without you?
Well, kill people. I'm not going to let it go. I hugged him back, feeling relief that we had finally arrived at the castle and were about to rush inside. As we slowly pulled away, Matthew lifted me up and helped me to my feet.
Come on. You ready?
Fuck yeah, let's go. I nodded, shaking off the exhaustion from my mind. I was ready to end this. I looked up to the castle gates and felt a rush of determination run through me. Let's go finish this. Finish it. With that, Matthew and I rushed forward into the castle. The final battle had begun. Dun dun dun! We quickly rushed into the Demon Lord's castle, desperate to get inside and aid Diana in fighting the Demon Lord. Hey, look at the man himself. He's got like a skull necklace. He's got some cool rope. He's got some red horns. He's got a cloak. That's pretty cool. And Diana's looking sassy and radiant as ever. As we rushed in, however, we stopped to see Diana and the Demon Lord standing off. Diana had her saber tightly gripped in one hand while she glared daggers into her opponent. The Demon Lord carried a large smirk on his face as he stood with the dais of his throne. What is that word? I don't know. As Matthew and I entered, his smirk grew that much wider. Diana didn't think, might be a bad idea to bring the guy who was possessed to battle with me? You don't think that he's gonna get taken over? God, these people have terrible war strategy. It's like they've never read a fantasy novel before. Whoa! Oh, hey, look. It's Mama Dearest. She doesn't look old like Demon Lord does. She's cute, though. I could totally see baby boy in her. So cute. So sexy, too. Matthew, however, seemed to care much more about the woman kneeling on the ground beside the Demon Lord with her hands on her knees, frowning at him.
Mother!
Ah, there he is, my son.
My son. You can come home now. That was Hercules.
Get him out of here now!
What? This is not part of the plan! As I stared at Diana as she continued to face the Demon Lord. What was she talking about? The Demon Lord simply laughed and pointed at Matthew.
Well, what are you waiting for? Claim your throne.
Right. Remember, we had those spooky as fuck dreams where we become toys to Matthew's sadistic ways. So, all right, well.
What are you talking?
Oh, shit. At that moment, Matthew's body pulsed with a faint blue light. He curled over his body and gripped his head, digging his fingers into his hair. Matthew, what's wrong?
Get him out of here!
Rushed to Matthew, now terrified to what was happening. Before I could place my hands on his shoulder, however, Matthew vanished into a dissipating afterimage. Huh? Oh, shit! The sound of steel clashing caused me to turn and see Matthew and Diana clashing swords. Diana gritted her teeth as Matthew glared into her gaze.
Damn it, fool! I said, take your throne!
Matthew's body pulsed again, forcing him to push against Diana and send her flying back to stand beside me. As Diana reached me, she moved a hand in front of me, blocking me from Matthew. Matthew! Oh no. Matthew looked up at me and Diana, his expression twitching from trying to maintain control of himself. His eyes flickered between blue and gold as he gripped to his sword tightly. I wasn't afraid of him, so I stepped out from behind Diana and walked towards him, holding my hands out. Matthew, it's okay. You can overcome this.
Stay back.
No. Baby boy, if I die by your hands, it's a good death. I ignored him and continued to walk forward, needing him to be okay. Whatever spell the Demon Lord had on him wasn't powerful enough to consume him. I needed to break its entire hold on him once and for all. Also, we gotta make sure that we don't end up, plaything of Baby Boy here. Fight it, Matthew. You're strong enough to beat this. Matthew dropped his sword and gripped his head, digging his fingers into his hair and curling over himself. And I cannot talk today. It's terrible. That's the whole point. He scratched his nails over his thorns, angry and aggravated.
I don't want to hurt you.
And you won't. You won't, Matthew. I know you won't. At last, I stopped in front of Matthew's body. I gently tilted his head up and cupped his face in both of my hands. His face was warm from the mental struggle as his eyes flickered between blue and gold. I trusted him. Matthew loved me, and his love would crash through this spell. Let me help you. I quickly leaned in and kissed Matthew's head, making him gasp and freeze within my arms. I felt myself slowly drained of my remaining energy, but I didn't care. Matthew needed it more than me, and if I was able to free him, then I would. The air around us became lighter and easier to breathe, even as we separated. I stared into Matthew's eyes, seeing him stared wide-eyed at me in shock. They were completely painted in gold, causing my heart to tighten for a moment. Did he break it?
Enough of this! Kill her!
Yeah. Mother-in-law, future mother-in-law, and Demon Lord are just like watching this unfold. Instead of being like, using the battle to their advantage and like attack Diana while this is going on, right? As the Demon Lord's voice reverberated in the air, a large sword embedded itself into the Demon Lord's stomach.
What the?
What the? Oh, look at that, baby boy! I love it. His hair is just the best. And hey, at least in this angle, his face is definitely more masculine, which, I honestly couldn't care less about masculine or femininity at all. But I think, for his character development, it makes sense that it's a little bit more macho, killing my father right here, right? So I appreciate that. I appreciate your horns and your blue skin. Yeah, Matthew looked back to his father, his hand extended out towards him. As his eyes finally gained their ocean blue color, my heart began to jump in ecstatic joy. Matthew had broken free from the spell his father had trapped him in under. Thank God.
How can this be? Impossible!
Inconceivable!
You expected me to follow your orders, you sick bastard!
Yeah. I stared wide-eyed as Matthew turned around and summoned a new weapon into his fist. A dark blue aura emanated from his body, flickering like flames as he stared the Demon Lord down.
You will never convince me to kill the ones I love.
Insolent brat!
This guy's got a sword in his stomach, and he's like, son, you are a huge disappointment. The Demon Lord gritted his teeth before sharply extending his hand towards Matthew's mother. Oh no! We could only watch as red, ethereal chains shot out from the Demon Lord's back towards Azera, wrapping around her form and crushing her. Oh no!
No!
Stop it!
Your energy, woman!
Shit, man! Faster than we could react, red lightning began to surround and shock Azera's bound form. The red energy traveled through the chains, holding her hostage and into the Demon Lord's body, making him glow a terrifying blood color. A large sword formed into the Demon Lord's hand, arcing with red lightning. Matthew's first sword, which was impaled in the Demon Lord's stomach, crumbled into ash and fell to the floor, leaving a black scar mark. The Demon Lord's eyes, however, fixed themselves on Matthew's form with deadly intent.
I'll kill you!
Faster than I thought imaginable, Matthew stepped forward and vanished, only to reappear in front of the Demon Lord with his sword held high. As Matthew swung his weapon down, however, the Demon Lord held out his hand and forced Matthew back with a burst of red energy. Matthew skidded backwards, crossing his sword over his body to shield himself from the blast. As the energy faded, the Demon Lord's lips curled into a crazed smirk.
Then come, little boy. Show me what you can.
The Demon Lord stopped staring at Matthew as his body froze. I hitched my breath. What was happening?
Enough.
Oh. Everyone turned their heads over towards Matthew's mother, seeing her hold the chain that connected to her and the Demon Lord in a tight grip. Her body was shaking, but the rage in her eyes could make any demon fall to their knees. Okay, I have a problem with this because I think I know what's going to happen. She's going to be like, screw you, husbando, and, go all badass mode, which is totally fine. Great, go badass. But, you've been abused forever. Why didn't you do this earlier? Why would you let your... Oh, she was putting up with it because if her son got the throne, then that would give her power. That's why she was putting up with it. But now she knows that baby boy isn't going to just, whatever, bend over. And so she's stepping up, I guess. I bet you that's it. Her body was shaking, but the rage in her eyes could make any demon fall to their knees. Right.
I will not let you hurt my son!
Before the Demon Lord could turn and do something, a large bolt of blue energy shot through the chain and into the Demon Lord's back, causing him to arc back and scream in pain. Oh my. Matthew grabbed onto me and covered my body with his as Diana blocked her face with her arms. The magic was so powerful the room began to shake violently. I watched from the cracks of Matthew's arms as black and red energy traveled down from the chain to the Demon Lord into Azero's body, making her body pulse and grow in power. The Demon Lord, however, became weaker and surprisingly became much more frail.
You are my...
I am not yours any longer!
Okay. Another heavy blue bolt rushed through the chain and into the Lord's body, causing a splash of blood to jet from the Demon Lord's mouth. Well, a fitting end, right? The brunt, the person who probably received the blunt of all that abuse gets to kill him off. Matthew finally stepped away from me and began to walk toward the Demon Lord, forming a sword in his hand. As he did, the Demon Lord collapsed onto the floor on his hands and knees and growled animalistically at his son.
It's over.
Yeah, it is. It's not over. Yep. What surprised me was the smirk that graced the Demon Lord's bleeding lips and the chuckle that erupted from it.
You are indeed the perfect son.
Ooh, that's not a compliment. Well, shit. Without another word, Matthew raised his sword and rammed it into the Demon Lord's neck, effectively pinning him to the ground and killing him. A bubbly cry of pain barely escaped the Demon Lord's mouth as his eyes glazed over, dead. My heart felt major relief, shaking a bit as a weight lifted off of my soul. The Demon Lord was dead at last. I was free, and we could go home. Diana spat to the side, catching my attention. Yeah, she didn't even get to kill him.
I think his own wife and son would be the ones to kill him. What have I been doing for the past 10 years?
Aw, baby cakes. I'm sorry. I couldn't stop the amused smile on my face as Diana walked up beside me, rubbing her neck in irritation. You weakened him for a bit for them, I'm sure. Diana rolled her eyes as Matthew finally rushed up to the dais towards his mother.
Mother!
Don't act all, innocent now. You were part of the problem. Girl, you just wanted your son to take the throne, okay? That's what you wanted. His mother wrapped her arms around Matthew, squeezing him to her. Matthew hugged her back just as tightly and kind, joyous to see her freed from the Demon Lord's power.
I'm right here. It's gonna be okay.
And then she stabbed stabs him in the neck. No, I'm just kidding. And then she shackles him with a chain noose thing. I was beyond happy for Matthew. His mother was safe now, and the demon lord was defeated. I could feel some sort of weight off my shoulders, knowing that the curse had been broken with his death. I smiled as I watched Azera cry in Matthew's arms. Great mother figure. Well, I mean, it's great. Before I could step forward and to join them, however, Diana placed her hand in front of me, glaring ahead of her. I looked up at her with a very surprised face. Diana?
Stay back.
Okay. Oh, shit! Oh, no! Well, we've been supportive of Matthew this whole time. He overcame mind control, so we're gonna go. Diana was being paranoid. The demon lord was dead and Matthew's mother was safe. Nothing was wrong. She must be making a fuss over nothing. I'm so fucked. I pushed Diana's hand away and took another step forward, before feeling Diana's hand grasp my shoulder, digging her fingers into it. Ah!
I said, stay back.
Oh, fuck. I stared wide-eyed at Diana, seeing a very frightening look in her eyes. Was something truly wrong? I looked back at Matthew and his mother, now concerned.
My sweet Sakeru. You're finally home.
Of course I am. I had to save you, right?
Izero smiled and kissed Matthew's forehead, slowly rising to her feet with him. As she fully stood, something in the air changed. The room became a little more peaceful and bright as Matthew turned towards me and Diana.
I guess I can finally introduce you to my fiancée. She helped in saving you.
Izero smiled very softly and looked to Diana, passing over me. What? I felt a little angry at being ignored, but I understood. She wouldn't expect a human to be his future wife.
The princess of Lilith's kingdom is your intended?
What? No, not her.
Before Matthew could step towards me, however, Izero's face delicately scrunched up at the sight of me. What the? Oh shit, I'm gonna die.
Why is a human here?
Oh no. Mother Dearest doesn't approve.
Huh? Mom, that's my fiancé.
The atmosphere suddenly changed again. The air became colder and something wasn't right. Something in Izero's eyes changed too, becoming hard and vicious.
A human?
Yeah? Oh my god, Matt. I think this is my favorite part with Matthew. Yeah? Oh. Izero locked eyes with me, and I suddenly gasped and became lost in my mind, detached from my body. I couldn't move anything or speak a single word, and her eyes remained their icy blue color. What was happening?
Human. Who are you?
Whoa! I don't even want to say it! Well, shit. I'm no one. I am an army slut, used for energy and sex. Look at his face. What? Matthew stared at me, completely shocked at what I had said. I, however, could only stare at Azera, whose gaze continued to burn into mine.
You are not expecting to be with my son, correct?
A human like me is not worthy.
Dimitera.
Instantly, my mind was my own again, and I released a gasp of surprise. I collapsed into Diana's arms as she reached out to catch me. Izero looked to Diana, offense clearly written across her features.
How dare you!
Matthew, get away from her!
What is going on?
Oh, shit! I looked up and watched as Izero glared at her own son and placed her hand on his chest. Her hand was engulfed in a blue glow that spread to the taint on Matthew's skin. Some sort of invisible force pulled Matthew back and slammed his body into the Demon Lord's throne. I knew it! All she cared about was him having a throne. Matthew! As his body came to rest against it, blue chains wrapped around the throne and Matthew's body. The chains began to glow and tighten around him, locking him in place.
Filthy human bitch! You don't belong in this world, and you will never have my son!
Mother, what are you?
Your mother's not here anymore, Matthew.
What?
She's been connected to the Demon Lord for too long. She's gone mad.
Mad? I am speaking truth! The king of the demon world has no need for a disgusting human!
What?
Poor Matthew! King of the demon world!
I'm afraid you are mistaken.
Oh, am I mistaken? The Demon Lord is dead, so his son must take the throne!
The Demon Lord is dead. The rebellion has usurped the throne. Your son no longer has claim to it.
The rebellion merely paved the way for the true king to ascend to the throne. My son was always destined to take it, and your little siege helped him achieve his fate.
Mother, stop!
Yeah, he doesn't even want it.
Enough, Sekedu!
Wow, the chains around Matthew's body tightened, and he winced and choked out a gasp of pain. I instinctively reached out and tried to move forward towards him, but Diana held me back, protecting me still. Izetta looked to him with a sad expression, tears almost filling her eyes.
When you left, I was so alone. I didn't understand. I always asked, why? Why did my own son leave me here? You broke my heart. But then I realized it was part of your destiny.
Mother...
You were merely preparing to take the throne. You needed to experience the human world before returning and taking your rightful place when the time was right. That's why you joined the rebellion.
No.
No, that's not true! I came because the Demon Lord cursed!
Listen to yourself! You are a demon, Sekedu! You are the son of the Demon Lord, destined for greatness! Why are you fighting this?
Matthew pulled and struggled against the chains that he was trapped under, no longer answering his mother. Izetta, however, turned to me and Diana, rage dancing within her eyes.
You poisoned his mind. You enslaved my son!
What? It wasn't true. I loved him, and he loved me. This wasn't supposed to happen. Why was Matthew's mother doing this? Was she truly insane? Obviously. Diana placed an arm on my shoulder, causing me to look up to her.
Don't bother listening to her. Her mind has been consumed by madness.
And you, Princess of Lilith! You dare oppose this kingdom? You swore your allegiance to the heir of the Demon Lord, yet you march here with an army bent on destroying the kingdom that you had pledged yourself to!
The Demon Lord broke his promise and murdered my family while I was in the human world doing his dirty work. My vow changed accordingly, and I swore that I would see his kingdom fall. A whipped woman like you would never understand.
Yeah!
Whipped? I merely waited for the chance to kill him so that my son could take his rightful place. Let's not forget that I was the one to strike the final blow on the bastard!
I am warning you now. Stand down.
The room became filled with a dark energy as Izetta glared hard at Diana, her eyes glowing a deadly cold color. However, Diana seemed to be unaffected by her gaze, returning the venomous look with a cold, red-eyed stare.
Such arrogance! You truly think you can stand against me?
Yeah, especially with that desperate voice.
If it means finishing the job and freeing the world from madness, then yes.
That makes me feel really bad. She's like against madness, and that's apparently what I'm killing her for. Izetta snarled before a blue aura enveloped her form. Her eyes began to flicker between her natural eye color to gold as the room adopted an eerie chill.
Then, allow me to clear the field of useless trash.
Oh, shit! What I didn't expect was Izetta shooting a blue and black chain at me, a large blade jutting out at the end intent on running me through. Before I could scream, however, I was pushed back and fell to the ground, the air in my lungs rushing out and leaving me breathless. Oh no, Diana. I managed to look up. I saw Diana standing in front of me, wings splayed out wide behind her, twitching in furious rage. The chain in question had been knocked away and vanished into the air.
I won't let you touch her.
Has the human world tainted you too? You're defending a human! You claim that I am the one who is mad!
Stop it!
Quiet!
With a violent wave of her arm, Izetta cast some sort of black mist over Matthew's mouth. As it took physical shape, a large blue steel mask in the shape of a bird's beak formed over Matthew's nose and mouth, completely covering the lower half of his face. Shit, man.
This is for you, Sekedu. Let me finally give you the world you deserve.
Izetta looked back to Diana, rage fueling her glare and the cold golden color over her irises.
I will order now.
Queen of the rebellion, you stand against a pure-blooded succubus. Do not think you have any advantage over me. In fact, I am stronger than you can ever hope to be!
Another pure-blooded succubus? I knew Diana was, but I thought she was the only one. How could there have been another? Diana's quiet chuckle, however, broke me from my thoughts.
I recognize the strong scent of lilies. At least this fight will be interesting.
Something in Diana's voice changed, shooting shivers down my spine. I recognized her tone of voice. The cruel Diana was back. However, Diana's hands reached back to me. What was she doing?
Human, give me some of your energy. I don't need much to defeat this woman.
Hell yeah, I'm giving her some of my energy. I didn't want this to happen, but Diana needed to fight her. Azera had already enthralled me once, and I knew I was no match for her. I took Diana's hand, feeling her quickly drain some of my energy from my body. The taint around her form began to pulse and glow slightly at the new energy in her body, but Diana didn't hold on for long. Diana pulled her hand back and began to chant quietly, waving her hand in the air by her head.
Enough talk! Die!
At the sound of Azera's words, a volley of change rushed out from behind her body and shot themselves towards Diana. Before they could reach her, however, Diana formed a familiar saber in her hand, parrying all of them and knocking them away from her. As they fell, the suddenly lifeless change vanished into the ground, making Azera growl.
You're too slow. All of those years under the Demon Lord's body must have taken a toll on you.
You insolent bitch!
Diana suddenly shot herself into the air and swooped towards the other succubus, raising her saber and swinging to decapitate Azera. However, all Diana hit was a suddenly vanishing afterimage. Before my eyes, Azera appeared behind Diana, floating midair with a large chain ready to slam down on Diana's head. Diana! Diana quickly dodged to the side, knowing what my scream meant. However, the chain slammed itself onto Diana's left wing, causing her to dip and fall to the ground. Her body bounced off the marble surface as she landed on her stomach, knocking the wind out of her.
Ah! A succubus relying on wings? A bit old-fashioned. You really are from Lilith's bloodline to still depend on that method.
I just find it funny that she's being all, like, I don't know, superior about it. Diana snarled and looked up at Azera, gripping her injured wing. It looked broken, twitching in pain under Diana's fingers. However, the wing suddenly reshaped itself and folded properly as if it had never been broken in the first place. Azera smirked as Azera stared in shock.
It may be old-fashioned, but I make it work.
With that quip, Diana flew at Azera again, her wings flapping as she sailed through the air for an accelerated boost. Azera glared before dispelling her chain and flying at Diana in return, meeting her halfway. Both women began to brawl and swipe at each other in the air, exchanging kicks and punches and either blocking each other's strikes or dodging them. I, however, looked to Matthew. He was still struggling against the chain around him, pulling roughly one way then another to try to find some leeway. His hands were still bound to the armrests, leaving him no chance to use his power to summon anything. I mean, obviously, I'm just gonna keep plowing forward with Matthew, as much as it hurts me. I just couldn't lay there. I had to do something. I quickly jumped up and ran towards Matthew, needing to help him. However, a large barrier forced me back onto the floor. Was Azera holding me back? It wasn't fair. Matthew! Diana and Azera finally shot away from each other, Diana landing near me and Azera landing beside Matthew.
Enough fooling around. You'll never outmatch me. Just surrender.
Nah.
Crowing like a proud bird won't convince me of your strength. If you claim to be stronger than me, then prove it!
Once more, Diana charged at Azera, zipping through the air like a bullet. From the shadows around Diana, blue lines of chains shot forth and reached for Diana's body. Oh shit! The chains quickly wrapped themselves around Diana's arms, legs, and encircled her neck and waist, squeezing her tightly. A choked garble managed to escape Diana's throat as the chain began to pull her limbs in opposite directions. Shit! My mind flashed back to the nightmare I had before I arrived. Diana was chained in the air in the shape of a star, being pulled apart. However, this time it was Azera who was pulling the chains. Azera laughed hysterically as she looked at Diana's body, seeing the result of her sneak attack.
Such a shame, Princess of Lilith. You not like that. I thought you wanted me to prove my strength. What a pitiful sight you are.
With the snap of Izeta's fingers, blue bolts of lightning ran down the chains and shot into Diana's form, causing her to release a heavily garbled scream into the air. Diana, no! I had to think of something quick. I needed to save Matthew and Diana, but were both possible, especially with a barrier in the way? My mind instantly thought of Sedo. He had holy magic, so maybe he had the ability to break the barrier. However, what about Matthew? What if Izeta did something else to him while Sedo saved Diana? Then I remembered that I could summon Matthew to me using his real name. What if it helped him escape his bonds? There wasn't enough time to decide. I shouted at last, calling out the first name that came to mind. Of course, it's making me choose all this shit. Oh my god. Zikeru! I needed to get Matthew out of here before, and I knew exactly how. I called out his name, feeling the energy of the summoning course through my body. However, I watched as it changed around Matthew, pulsed in reply, tightening harder around his body. What? Why didn't it work? Using a demon's name was supposed to have broken through anything. Izeta laughed, causing me to look at her.
Pathetic! Your love for him isn't strong enough!
What? This couldn't be. I stared at Izeta, trying not to break into hysterics. The summoning spell didn't work. Before I could open my mouth to shout for Sedo, Izeta raised her hand and smirked at Diana's body.
I had enough fun with you.
I didn't even get a chance to blink or close my eyes. Izeta swept her hand through the air, causing the chains to release Diana's arms, legs, and waist, but tighten around her neck. With a bubbly gargle, Diana cried out as the chains finally crushed her neck. Oh, shit. Oh, God. I killed her! I killed us all! The sound of her neck snapping echoed through the room before the chains finally released her, Diana's body dropping to the ground and slamming onto it with a terrifying thud.
As much as I would have loved to rip you apart, I don't want any more blood on the marble.
No! Diana rammed on the ground, lifeless. Tears began to flood my eyes as I stared at her fallen body before glaring hard at Izeta. As we locked eyes, she began to laugh hysterically.
The rebellion has lost its precious queen. This war is over.
Izeta then sneered at me, stepping down from the throne dais and to walk slowly towards me. I felt my body freeze at her gaze. She was enthralling me again. I fought back with my willpower, trying to deny her any control over my form. Why am I not trying to use my shadow form? But I remained silent as a statue, only able to breathe.
Waste of space. Do you really think you can just claim my son? He is about to serve a higher purpose and you are in his way. Don't you see that?
I gritted my teeth, fighting back harder. I could feel waves of energy rush through me, ordering me to obey her mental commands, but I still refused to acknowledge them. I wasn't going to give in to her.
All you are good for is being chained to a bed and milked of your energy like a good little harem girl. So much energy would be able to sustain him for decades.
I stared wide-eyed at her, feeling her energy surge in my body and seeing her smirk grow with each step as she took towards me. Her eyes were glistening with sadistic rage.
Maybe that's what we'll do with you. You can be my son's favorite plaything. He'll always have a source of energy and will become powerful enough to completely rule over this world with an iron fist, while you get to live. Would you like that?
My mind began to flash back to the nightmare I had of Matthew staring at me with a cold, sadistic gaze and smile. I had to fight myself from shuddering as I battled against Izeta's hold. Matthew will never listen to you!
Won't he? I've been draining him of his willpower this whole time. He won't be able to disobey me anymore.
My heart stopped and I could feel Izeta's hold take over as my spike of fear lowered my resolve. She was doing what? I'm about to get a bad end. My eyes darted over to the throne, terror clutching at my heart. Was he going to obey her? I looked at Matthew to see the chains disappear from his body as he slowly stood, his head down with his bangs shielding his eyes. I became wide-eyed as he slowly descended from the dais and began to walk towards his mother in a zombie-like fashion. Izeta looked over his shoulder at her son and chuckled before turning back to me.
Now, be a good boy and chain this...
My voice caught in my throat as I witnessed a blade ramming through Izeta's chest, making me gasp and tremble in shock. Oh, okay, maybe I won't get a bad end. I just killed Diana. From behind her, Matthew lifted his head to reveal his tear-stained eyes. As he held on to the blade that he had impaled his mother on with a shaky grip, Izeta turned her head to try and look at him. Matthew!
What?
I'm sorry, but I love her.
My heart swelled in both love but despair. This wasn't fair to him, but it was between her and me, and Matthew made his choice.
Goodbye, Mother.
Without another word, Matthew pulled the blade out from Ezera's body and swung it around his head, cutting a large gash into her back and forcing her back to the ground. My body became my own again as I crawled back from her falling body. Ezera hit the ground and quickly limp, lifeless at last. Matthew, however, gripped to his blade and stared at what he had done in both pain and in shame. My heart began to cry for Matthew. He had struck down his own mother, one whom he had loved with every part of his being. This undoubtedly impacted him hard, and I could never know what ran through his mind. I slowly stood and walked over, standing before Matthew as he dropped his blade and averted his eyes to the side. Matthew. I slowly raised my arms to offer a hug, and instantly Matthew pulled me to him and pressed my body against his, burying his face into my shoulder. I could tell he was fighting back tears, but couldn't stop himself from letting some go, pressing his forehead against my neck. All I could do was hold him and hug him with the same amount of force. It's over now. It's over. I gently ran my fingers through Matthew's hair, trying to calm him down. Eventually, he let his sadness out, making both of us collapse onto the floor on our knees, gripping to each other tightly. His fingers dug into my shirt, pressing me even harder against his chest as he wept against my shoulder. I, however, was silent, trying to take everything in. The Demon Lord was dead, and so was Matthew's mother. And so was Diana! The war had essentially been won. The sight of Diana's dead body made a hard realization course through me like a wave. The queen of the rebellion had been slain, leaving the world with 4 rebel leaders to care for it. What of Sero? What would he do now that his lady was gone? I was free to go home, but the price seemed too harsh for the gift to be worth receiving. I lowered my head to Matthew's shoulder, weeping softly with him. This war may have been over, and the rebellion may have been won, but the lives lost were significant and powerful enough to break hearts. Yeah, well, I was going to kill her anyway, so I had to leave all this behind, unable to change anything.
Well, you did it!
Yep.
Congratulations!
All right, we've seen this like a million times.
I never imagined that Matthew's own mother would go crazy and turn on him. At least the Demon Lord got what he had coming to him. Anyway, Matthew's completely free now, and you got to return to the human world in the end. Anyways, we've been through Huh? You want to know, after the war was finished, the entire rebellion...
Yes.
You would think demons would be more hostile towards each other, being demons and all, but the threat of the Demon Lord was what brought the entire world together. When Diana's body was found, the entire rebellion wept. Even the rebel leaders, and especially Sero. Despite the war being over and celebrations being the highlight of the night following it, the death of their queen became the dreadful morning news.
Whatever. I'm still upset. Still very upset. We're going to see, though. We're going to get to this end.
She was given a public cremation.
And see what
watched
happens.
By the entire rebellion army. And when her body became ashes, Sero took the remains to a tree sacred to her family, burying her ashes at the roots. What did Sero do then? Well, you see, since Sero is... well, since he's half angel, his angel blood prevents him from letting him take his own life, as is inscribed on their blood by heaven, that they will live until time or their enemies end them. None of the rebel leaders would agree to take his life, and every demon in the abyssal plains came to respect him too much to challenge him. So he simply sits at the foot of Diana's family tree, desperate to wither away.
That's so sad.
I think he's still there now. Poor Sero.
Well, okay, but, like, we know what happens when he goes crazy, so...
Anyway, the other rebel leaders, desperate to make sure that her death wouldn't be in vain, brought themselves together and swore to bring the world to the peace they believed she imagined it to have.
Whatever,
To the surprise of many, they did a pretty decent job. They slowly started to work at breaking the caste system and organized trade on every inch of the world. All of it in the memory of the fallen succubus. And I believe that is everything that happened after... well, Except for your story, anyway. Matthew and you went back to the human world and had a peaceful night in your bed before moving on and getting married. Huh? How do I know? Well, I have my ways. Maybe you should check it out.
I guess. I'm upset. The wedding day, which was rescheduled without issue, became as perfect as I imagined it to be. The ceremony was perfect, and the reception was filled with food, cake, streamers, and everything a perfect party should have. Our night became filled with both excitement, fun, dancing, and a feeling of perfection as the realization of everything hit me. I was at last married to the man of my dreams. I could go on and on about the wedding and the honeymoon, but honestly, after the war, I was more concerned of living my life afterwards. Our lives exploded with the possibilities after we officially became husband and wife. Matthew helped escalate the Anderson toy company to new heights with his brother and became a head designer for toys. He began to pump out idea after idea, become a master toy maker like my grandfather was. As for me, I began to go through my own success in life, dedicating myself to becoming exactly what I wanted to be. After all, my husband was being a master toy designer. If I put the same amount of work as I did in the demon world, then I was going to be okay. However, there was never a day that went by that I didn't think about what was happening in the abyssal planes. It was a heavy chapter of my life, one that tested the love between me and Matthew. Yeah, I'll say. The memories of our final fight with the demon lord and Azera still haunted me slightly, but it only showed how passionate Matthew was with keeping me safe and remaining as my own. I was blessed to have him as mine after everything we went through. Still, I was confident that we would get through it and stay together no matter what came our way. Demon, devil, whatever, it didn't matter to us. We were unstoppable together. A moment to myself was all it took to remember everything that went on during my time in the abyssal planes. It was a heavy... What? It repeated itself. It was a heavy part of my life. Yeah. It was a blessing in disguise. Cool. I sat at the dining room table looking over multiple photos that were taken from our wedding. There were so many goofy smiles, embraces, and tear-jerking moments that spanned through every picture. I felt myself grinning at the sight of each one, remember vividly each moment as if it was shot and captured in nostalgic euphoria. I almost wanted to go back in time and relive it all over again, just to feel the emotions run through me once again the first time through. What do you think, Simon? I looked to my furry friend, pointing at the image that managed to catch him jumping for the bridal garter in his surprisingly human form. How he managed to learn that, I would never know, but I was excited to have him as a guest instead of just my lucky charm. Simon wobbled over from his spot, looking at the image, and gave me a silly grin. It still looked a little evil, but I had begun to recognize which of his smiles were actually filled with ill intent and which were genuine. I giggled and slid it over to him, picking it up off the table and handing it to him and watching him sit back on his fluffy tail, looking at it in awe. I guess it pictures were still a wonder to Simon since they didn't move. Shaking my head, I began to slowly pile the rest of the images together, eager to store them away for the future and frame some up just for the sake of memories. As I did, Matthew walked into the room, hands behind his back with a smile. Oh, hey, Matthew.
Hey, what you doing?
Looking at pictures. Oh, I was just looking at our wedding photos. A bit nostalgic, you know? Matthew nodded and walked over, looking over them over my shoulder. I, however, attempted to be sly and looked over his in return to try and glimpse at what he has been hiding behind his back. To my surprise, there was nothing there, making Matthew smirk and laugh.
Look, I know I have a nice butt, but you don't need to try and sneak a peek at it, okay?
Oh, you! Oh my god, Matthew! Come on, we're married. I gave Matthew a playful slap on the shoulder as both of us began to laugh wildly at the joke. Matthew was the first to calm down, wrapping an arm around my shoulder and continuing to look at the pictures.
Man, it's been like, what, a couple months since the wedding, right?
I'm already looking at these pictures all nostalgic. Yeah, how time flies. Honestly, I thought this was years in the future or something with how she was speaking about these pictures. I laid my head on Matthew's shoulders, letting my emotions drift into a state of calm and serenity in his half-embrace. With a chuckle, Matthew lowered his head and kissed the top of my hair before nuzzling it with his cheek.
I still remember it. Oh, I was so nervous saying my vows.
Me too. It was like a dream from long ago, both of us revealed in the memory of us exchanging vows and saying I do to one another. I could feel the rush of happy realization wash over me as I affirmed myself. Matthew was my husband. I wonder, like, how long it takes before it's like, you know, it's like there. You're just like, yep, that's my hubby. Matthew grinned before kissing my temple and standing up straight, placing his hands behind his back once again. When he brought them forward, I was shocked to see him bring around a gift box, beautifully wrapped and tied with a bow. I knew he was hiding something. Huh, Matthew, what's this?
Something that I think you and Simon will like.
Oh, and Simon. Are we gonna have a three-way? Is that where this going? Simon perked up at the sound of his name, and I straightened up in my chair, now beyond curious of what was in the box. As Matthew slowly unwrapped it, I gasped at what popped out of it. Another doll? Oh my god! It's the cutest thing I've ever seen! And also, he's still shirtless. It's so cute! Another doll? Bursting from the now open top was a fluffy doll that almost looked like Simon, but with a bow on its head and a cuter curl in its fur. I looked around and hopped onto the table, skittering over to Simon. Oh, he made Simon a buddy. Oh, of course, Simon brandishing his toy knives, but stopped as the doll came up close and sniffed at him, grinning at him and hopping around excitedly. Oh, so Simon's just like, don't come any closer, and the doll's just like, what? You're interesting. I'm curious. Love me. A couple of sniffs from Simon caused him to do the same to his new friend.
I figured since we're married and stuff, maybe it was time to get Simon a playmate of his own. You know?
Yeah, so he doesn't have to, like, be depressed every time we decide to do the do. I smiled as the two furry dolls bounced around each other, now excited for their new company, and stood, walking over to Matthew. He lowered the box and wrapped his arms around me, grinning down at me as I nuzzled my nose to his. You are the absolute best, you know that?
I do my best for you.
You know, as much as I critique Matthew, he reminds me a lot of Kaiser. Like the things that he says, I do my best for you. What would I do without you? Makes me happy. And he still looks like Kaiser, which is great. He would totally get me a stuffed little like thing like that. That's so cute. Matthew raised his hand and brushed the strand of hair from behind my ear before cupping my cheek. I felt his warmth radiate from his hand, causing me to lean into it and smile. Caveat on my previous statements. I don't think Kaiser would kill anyone. We're good. I love you, Matthew. I love you so, so much.
I love you too. More than anything. And I'll always be here with you, working to keep a smile on your face.
Pretty sure Kaiser has told me that word for word. Couldn't stop my smile from growing before leaning in and kissing Matthew lovingly, feeling him kiss back with the same amount of love and passion that I had. He would always be here with me, and no one would be able to take him away. I would be here, arms wide open for him, and would fill him with my love for as long as I lived. And that was my perfect happily ever after. My love for you is endless. Hope that's good. I mean, cool. So I want to do the others. Not of the other endings, but I really want to go back. So, okay, that one is the make love one. This one is, all right, we're going to come back. This time, we're going to be good little children and listen to Diana, and hopefully she won't die. I nodded, unsure why she wanted me to stay away. However, the intense impression on her face, something was seriously wrong.
My sweet Sakeru, you're finally home.
Tadaima!
Of course I am. I had to save you, right?
Cool,
I guess
same.
I can finally introduce you to my fiance.
Right. Uh-huh.
The princess of Lilith.
What? No.
Yep. Why is a human here? Mom, that's my fiance.
That's my fiance.
Okay.
A human?
Okay, my favorite part,
Yeah?
Yeah. All right. What was happening? Ah, oh no. Being taken over. Oh, I'm not worthy. And then...
How dare you?
How dare you?
What is going on?
And, yep. Matthew! Cool.
Human bitch.
Don't call me that.
Your mother's not here. She's been connected.
Mad. What?
What?
I'm afraid.
How am I?
The demon lord.
Blip, 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 blip,
When you left,
blip, blip.
you were merely.
No.
Listen. You.
Don't bother listening.
And
the demon lord
whipped.
Whipped!
I am warning you now.
Stand down. Okay.
If it means finishing the job and freeing the world.
Okay, I think this is the same so far. Give her your hand. Skip. La la la. Let's try this.
Enough fooling around.
Crowing like a proud bird.
What?
Oh no! Ah! Oh shit. Okay, we're gonna call Sero. Yeah, that's a good point. Diana was in danger and Matthew wasn't. I knew that his mother wouldn't hurt him, so I had to get Diana out of her predicament first. Isero's name reverberated from my lips. A bright light flashed through the room, causing Izetta to cover her eyes and make me and Matthew turn our heads.
What?
Yeah! As quickly as it came, the light vanished, revealing Seto holding Diana close to his body as she barely managed to stay afloat with her magic. The chains had been broken and were slowly fading away. Seto glared intensely at Izetta. She stared back in shock at who she saw.
What is this?
Seto. Oh. The guard didn't reply, only intent on holding Diana and doing something with his spear, which he grasped in white-knuckled grip. His body seemed to glow a white color that spread gently to engulf Diana's body in his hold.
Dare lay your hands on my queen?
You can at least count on Sero to be like, this bitch is the most amazing woman to walk this earth. How dare you even breathe her air? Like, he is like just so in love with her. It's a little much, but you know, that's okay. Seto raised his spear like a javelin. Izetta stepped back in fear. The weapon began to emit a dangerous golden color in his grasp, its aura flickering through the air.
Celesti bestia!
Oh shit! She is so dead. With a strong throw, Seto shot his spear at Izetta, and she protectively brought her arms in front of her and formed a blue barrier around her body. The spear's blade slammed into the barrier and continued to push against it, trying to reach its target. The barrier was cracking as the spear attempted to pierce through it, but the cracks would seal themselves together as soon as they appeared. Izetta struggled to keep it from piercing through the barrier around her. Yeah. Diana, barely hanging on to Seto, guided them both back towards me, landing safely on the ground next to me before Diana almost collapsed. Oh. Isaiah.
I'm fine.
I can give you more of my energy, babes. However, Diana's eyes rolled to the back of her head and forward. She fell into Seto's arms. He tightened his hold on her, hugging her form to him as his eyes began to fill with panic. Diana was out of the count for now. Oh shit. Now we're all gonna die! The sound of a heavy clatter echoed through the chamber. Seto's spear was finally knocked away and fell to the ground, no longer glowing. Izetta, however, seemed worn out from spending so much energy to defend against Seto's weapon. The barrier around her faded away.
How does a demon have holy magic?
I couldn't believe it. The spear was emitting holy magic. Then how was Izetta able to block it and push it away? The light in Izetta's eyes faded as she snailed at Sarah before she moved her hands in front of her body again. It shot out a large blue orb wrapped in black chains towards him. It cut through the air with a bolt-like speed, slamming into Seto's and Diana's bodies before Seto had a chance to look up. Fuck. They both flew backwards and slammed into the far wall, landing on the ground beside each other with a painful-sounding pair of thuds. Seto, Diana! I looked back at Izetta, both furious and fearful of her. Izetta then sneered at me, stepping down from the throne dais to walk slowly towards me. Oh, fuck! I felt my body freeze at her gaze. She was enthralling me again. I had to fight back with my willpower.
You waste of
space.
Do you really think you can just claim my soul?
This is the same. I wasn't gonna give in. Right?
Maybe.
Yeah, she's threatening me. Matthew will never listen to you. And then that, whatever, zombie-like state. I want to hear that nice.
Be a good boy and chain this.
Yeah! My voice caught in my throat. Yep, here we go. Yep. Perfect!
I'm sorry, but I love her.
Oh. Okay, yes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. God, that noise. I love it. Alright, we're gonna skip because I don't want to... Oh! As a soft rustle caught me and Matthew off guard, we turned to see Seto and Diana leaning against the far wall, slowly rising and leaning on each other to remain on their feet. I could give you energy, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, that was interesting, to say the least.
Matthew didn't speak a word as he looked away from Diana. Seto guided Diana over with a protective arm over her waist as she looked down at us.
Matthew, I'm sorry for what you had to do.
Yeah, that fucking sucks, bruh.
I know.
I know, right?
However, you saved the woman you loved.
She's not crazy! She's clearly not crazy! Come on. She saved my life over and over again. Oh, I can't believe... Oh, I'm so upset. Okay, Matthew slowly turned to look at me in the eyes as I did him. His face was stricken with tears, but his expression became one of slow acceptance.
She has been your rock ever since you met her. If you had let your mother control you, I would have killed both you and her.
Oh shit, what? As harsh as her words were, I could understand why she said them. Matthew and I stared in each other's eyes as we took in what Diana said. She was right. I loved him and was happy to have him alive and in my arms. That was all that mattered. I smiled and took his head into my hands, leaning in and pressing my forehead against his. We're alive, and we can go home now. Matthew slowly grinned and nodded, cupping my head in his hands as well.
Yeah. We can go home now.
A loving laugh bounced between us as we finally let everything sink in. We were together, alive, and in love. We had won, and we were going to return to the human world and be together for the rest of our lives. I barely noticed the gagging noise Diana made behind us.
Sarah, take me away from this. I'm feeling nauseous just looking at them.
Oh, whatever. Sero's just like, but... Sero's like, but I think it's sweet. Seto, however, chuckled and guided Diana out of the room, waving his hand over the air before exiting completely. As I looked around, the room became vacant of any damage or death. There were no bodies or any trace of blood. Matthew and I were alone to hold each other and wait until the horns sounded for the war to be officially over. Matthew gently pulled me close and rested my head on his chest, his chin resting on the top of my hair.
I love you.
Aw, I love you too. I couldn't fight the smile that painted itself over my cheeks as I nuzzled close to Matthew, relaxing at last. I love you too. It was over. The war was finally over. As the smoke cleared, we were victorious. The soldiers left standing were the ones to cheer in victory. The sky became littered with the howls and cries of joyful and happy. The tyranny of the demon lord had ended. But what now? Home was now possible. We could go back to the human world and we could live our lives as we wanted. It was something I desperately wanted, and yet my body was not ready to make the journey just yet. We had to celebrate the success of the war, after all. Yes, this is why I went back and redid it. As the full moon rose over the Lilith castle towards the dawn, the entirety of the demon world celebrated with endless drink and food, laughter and dancing. It was so unreal, but the courtyard that I could see was filled with smiles and happy faces. We had stayed for one more night, traveling back to Lilith castle to rest, and return home as healthy as we could be. After all, we had just gone through a war. One more night in the demon world wasn't going to hurt us. While the majority of the rebellion danced in the courtyard, I remained with the incubi and the rebel leaders, who were all in the royal hall having their own celebration. Drinks were shared and battle stories were exchanged, making some laugh and others roll their eyes. I found myself intrigued with the stories Sergeant told about the front line. As I looked at Diana, however, she simply kept quiet with a small smile on her face. She looked at the incubi and the rebel leaders in silence before walking away from the little party we had. As if she knew I was staring at her, Diana looked over at me and slightly gestured with her head to follow her. Of course I'm going to follow her. That's the whole point. Oh, I love Diana. I think she might be my favorite character so far, just because she's a villain. She's not just like, you know, a flat character. She's like, I don't know. She's got a lot going on, you know, like she's interesting. You know, and she's interesting, and when you romance her or not, she's still interesting, you know, and that's like really hard to do, which, you know, it kind of makes sense though, because the writer, or the author of this narrative voices Diana. Of course, right? But I love her. Anyway, we are gonna follow her. Hello, babes. I followed, curious as to where she was going. I made sure to remain quiet as I separated from the rest of the group and followed her out to the room into the hall. The entire journey, Diana didn't speak a word. Even Sarah didn't follow her, most likely being told that she wanted to speak to me alone. Diana led me through the castle, up a couple set of stairs, into what looked like a royal bedroom with a balcony. Was this a guest room? It was untouched, and I could smell the very faint scent of dust. Why did she bring me here? Diana stepped into the room, using her magic to ignite the candelabras and air out the room by opening the balcony window. Before I could ask, however, Diana finally spoke up.
I have to thank you, dear.
For what?
For aiding us in this war. We've been fighting the Demon Lord for so long. We thought the war would never end. As terrible as the circumstance was, if you hadn't been summoned here, we probably would have still been fighting now.
Diana walked to the balcony and leaned against the railing, staring into the dark night sky. The light from the room illuminated her form as she gazed at the stars. Despite the situation around us, the air seemed calm, with a faint echo of the celebrations whispering through the night. I walked over and stood beside her, leaning against the balcony, and looked at Diana as she smiled and let out a chuckle.
To be very honest, I didn't expect to ever see you again. After I took your energy that night, I vowed to never deal with humans again. No clairvoyance could have told me about you coming into play in this war.
Yeah, really. Wasn't exactly counting on coming here. It was good to see you again, though. At least I got to help bring peace here. Just because, we're not, buddy-buddy with her, we are, but we're not, so I'm gonna go with, the middle ground, but at least I got to help bring peace here. Diana smiled, nodding to me. I was really glad to help bring peace to a world. It wasn't out of pride or vanity, it was a matter of helping people clearly in need.
We owe you much thanks.
I'll accept your thanks when I finally get married.
Oh, I had almost forgotten.
I tilted my head at her. What was she talking about? Diana lifted one of her hands towards the sky and waved her hand through the air, making a soft purple mist glow around her fingers. Within seconds, the mist morphed and formed itself into a lavender-colored lily, resting peacefully between Diana's fingers. She brought it down and presented it to me with a kind gaze.
A gift, my dear.
Aww. A gift? I slowly took the flower out of Diana's hands and inspected it visually. It was light. I could feel a soft glow of magic emanating from the stem and petals. The bloom reminded me of a human world lily, but something about it seemed otherworldly.
A flower known only to demons of Lilith. We call it the Flower of Lilith, because these flowers were said to have been created when Lilith first appeared in the abyssal plains.
I stared at Diana, not understanding why she was giving me such a gift. She chuckled at my confusion and leaned against the railing, continuing her explanation.
It is also a flower we succubi use when we marry.
Use? What do you mean? Diana chuckled again before she gently took the flower from my hands and tucked it behind my ear. As it settled against my ear, I felt mist circle my head and form into a flower crown of lavender lilies. The way Diana looked at me made me feel like I was in my bridal wear already.
A human you may be, but Lilith would have been proud to see you marrying one of her own. These flowers represent her blessing, and may only crown the worthy.
Aww. Oh, she's so sweet. She's such a good person. Come on. Just because she also has a dark side doesn't mean she deserves to die. So sad. I felt a blush run across my cheeks. This was a blessing. I slowly reached up and ran my fingers along the flower crown adorning my head, feeling the soft petals against my fingertips. They were almost pulsing with energy. I felt both flattered and honored that a simple flower felt that I was worthy enough to crown my head. Diana let out a sigh and looked back to the sky, making me do the same. One would have expected the sky to be full of smoke or smell of a war's aftermath, but the sky was clear, and fresh air drifted through my nose as I inhaled. It was indeed another world, and tonight was my last night in it.
I guess this will be my last night, won't it?
What? I turned my head to Diana in confusion. She didn't look to me and continued to smile at the sky. What was she talking about? In Diana's hands formed a small goblet containing a dark liquid I assumed to be wine. She placed the goblet towards me on the balcony without looking and waited. She avoided looking towards me as she waited for something to happen. What was she? Then I felt a small weight in my pocket, and memories flooded into my mind. I stared at Diana in shock when I realized what was she doing. When she knew. Oh my god! Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, this is the worst! What about Sero? Woman! You can't die! Oh, no! And she was willing to take it. I stared at the goblet, now measuring the worth of this action. The vial in my pocket could be so many things. A sleeping draught, poison, acid. Diana, however, seemed to be accepting of whatever it was. I suddenly became conflicted. Did I want to do this to her? Okay, I'm glad I get to at least decide. Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. But we're going to do it. And then we're going to reload. I bit my lip. It didn't feel right, but I knew what I had to do. I made a promise and it had to be done. I silently took the vial from my pocket and uncorked it, feeling the magic of the liquid within waft from the top. It had a slightly foul stench, but before it could reach Diana's nose, I poured the contents into the goblet. The wine gently brightened from a purple to a green color. That's not obvious at all. I swore for a second that it reflected a black skull in its reflection, but it quickly faded away. Felt the crown on my head wither and fade as I quietly tossed the vial off the balcony rail behind me into the dark. For some reason I felt like crying, but I knew what had to be done. I finally cleared my throat, letting Diana know I was done. Oh my god, I hate this. I hate this so much. Diana finally turned to me and looked at the goblet, watching the liquid within it simmer in the moonlight. I could faintly hear Diana gulp to herself as she took the goblet in her hand and looked into it.
You know, I'm thankful it was you who did this.
What do you mean? I stared at Diana, feeling her gift drop from behind my ear and fall into the dark beyond the balcony. She continued to stare into her goblet with a very sad smile across her lips.
I don't deserve to rule this world. I've done what I set out to do, and now that the war is over, my job is done. I'm glad that you are the one to let me know that.
No. No! Baby cakes! That's so awful. She doesn't deserve this. Diana shook her head, silencing me.
It's all right. I understand. As vain and prideful as it sounds, I'm too powerful to be left alive.
She lifted the goblet and turned to face me slightly, closing her eyes and smiling as if nothing was wrong.
One last drink, then. For a job well done.
Oh. What about Zero? You can't... No! He's gonna sit at your grave forever. Forever! My heart squeezed tightly in my chest as I watched Diana lift the goblet to her lips and drink down what was within. Her eyes tightened and her face grimaced with the consumption, most likely at the taste, but she shrank the entire thing down. She lowered the goblet to a railing. She took in a shaky breath and tightened her grip on the rail. Was it affecting her already?
I guess they wanted it to be painless. How kind.
Well, at least they know that they put me up to it. I'm so sorry.
Don't be. It's done.
Diana tossed the goblet into the dark and watched it arc through the air before fading into the night. She then turned and sat on the bed in the room, slumping slightly as she settled into the middle of it. I stared as the taint on her skin began to glow. Diana looked up at me and smiled, leaning back against the bedpost.
You should go, dear. I'm sure your husband is waiting for you. May your journey back to the human world be safe. And may you live a happy life.
Oh. Couldn't say anything else to her. I nodded and left the room, silent. I slowly made my way through the halls of the castle back where my husband and the rest of the group was. I was a murderer. I had technically usurped the throne from the almost queen, and now I had to live with that for the rest of my life. However, I stopped as I spotted a figure ahead of me. Shadow just stood ahead of me with a stoic look on his face. Why did he look that way? He wasn't the one who did the deed.
Is it done?
I nodded, not able to speak. Sergeant nodded back to me before he walked towards me, stopping in front of me.
Well done. This world deserves a better ruler than her.
Fuck you. I didn't want to speak to him. I'd fulfilled my promise and would have to live with the memory of it forever. However, I didn't expect him to touch my head and cast a spell.
Your job is done.
I stared wide-eyed, watching in surprise as my mind became lighter. Memories of what had happened began to slowly dissolve, and my heart became lighter at the loss of the memories. No! No! That is the worst. No! No, I deserve to live with that. How dare you take that away from me? Was this some kind of joke? Before I knew it, I felt at ease where I stood. I was in the middle of the hallway with Shadow, unsure of why I was there. What had happened?
There you are. The others are waiting for you. It's time for you to leave.
I stared at Shadow, confused but determined to return to where I was. The others were waiting, and I was about to go home. I noticed a smile before walking with him back to the main hall. I was going home.
Well, you did it!
Congratulations! Nevertheless, I never imagined that Matthew's own mother would go crazy and turn on him. At least the Demon Lord got what he had coming to him.
Because you decided to kill Diana, the rebels were able to take over and unite the world under their rule. I still will never understand why you did it, but I guess you had your reasons. I wanted to know the achievement.
I'll be honest, though. They don't exactly work well together. While the world accepted them as the rulers, the four of them really couldn't get it together.
I knew it.
So they decided that only one of them should rule while the others should be advisors. It took them a while to decide who to let take the crown. Soon, though, Shadow pretty much assassinated
I knew it!
Becoming impatient with them for their lack of action and decision.
I knew it!
Shadow took up the crown and ruled with a stern and strict hand. Using his shadow agents, he was able to obtain a new world order, one filled with fear and obedience.
Fuck. Oh, he was so cool. But he's legit evil. I mean, he is the definition of evil. Oh my god, I knew it. Oh, no.
No one has yet to stop him. Even now, he continues to keep the demon in the world under his hand, aiming to bring peace through control of their fear. He has a sick idea that he's the world's god and the only candidate worthy of the universe's throne.
Oh! I put Hitler in power. Oh, no. Oh!
I've always hated that guy.
I'm sorry.
And I believe that is everything that happened after Matthew and you went back. Huh? How do I know?
It's the same shit. I don't deserve this happiness. Okay. I can't leave it like that. No, I need to know. No. I remember the promise I had made, but I couldn't go through with it. Diana was my friend now, and she had done so much for me in this world. She didn't deserve whatever the vial had in store for her. I took the goblet and cleared my throat, finally getting Diana to turn her head and look at me. It can't be your last night. You have a world to rule. One drink isn't going to kill you. Diana stared at me, a look of pure confusion on her face, before she looked to the goblet in my hand, seeing it remain pure. I smiled as she watched me lift the goblet to my lips and drink from it. In instinct, Diana reached for me in panic, but I stepped away from her, holding the goblet away. Hey, you gave it to me.
But it...
Diana. I stared plainly at the succubus, reaching my free hand into my pocket, revealing the still corked vial. I held it out to her and she gently took it, staring at it before looking back up at me. You deserve to rule this world. Anyone who says otherwise is an idiot. Diana's eyes began to water, her face became red, and her lips began to tremble. Did she really expect me to use the vial? Oh. Oh! It's not the romance path that gets me on the verge of tears. It's Diana. It's just Diana. She held the vial tightly and covered her eyes, most likely not wanting me to see her cry. I felt incredibly sorry for her, seeing her weep silently. She was a target, and she expected her death to come around because of her standing as queen of the rebellion. What will Diana do when she officially takes the crown of her entire demon world? I waited as Diana rubbed her eyes and cleared her throat, now finished with her personal breakdown. She looked at me and smiled just slightly.
Well, I guess one drink won't hurt me, huh?
She twisted her free hand through the air and formed a second goblet filled with the same liquid that was in my cup and raised it towards me. I smiled and clinked my goblet with hers.
Thank you, my dear.
To the new queen of the Abyssal Plains, long may she reign. We simultaneously sipped our drinks and let the words ring between us. It was a worthy toast, and Diana deserved it. She would be the new queen of the demon world.
Well, you did it!
Much better.
I'm glad I never imagined.
Right.
Anyway.
Yep.
Anyways, you've been... Huh? You want to... After the war was finished, the entire rebellion celebrated.
Well,
you would think demons would be more hot. The entire world united under one banner, the Lilith Crest. Diana became the sovereign of the entire plane, accepted and loved by practically everyone because of her devotion to the world and her bravery in the war. Sero, as devoted as ever, remained by her side as her loyal bodyguard. Diana became one of the most beloved rulers in all of Demon World history. Her natural heart of gold led her to lead the world to a prosperous future, one filled with peace and happiness. However, she had a long list of words to say against the rebel leaders. You did give her the vial of poison, after all.
Yeah, they fucking deserve it, those assholes.
Diana had a heart of gold, she wasn't at all forgiving of what they had attempted to do to her through you. She made them choose between death or banishment from the Central Council.
Good!
Faye, Sergeant, and Rabbit chose banishment. Shadow chose death.
Good!
And I believe that is everything that happened after... Well, except...
And... Alright. Oh my god! Wow. Diana gets me every time. Every time. I should be like all happy for you know, because it's like, woo, Matthew, you know. So we got that. We got this and this. There's 3 others. Oh gosh. It is almost time for me to go to bed. I know. How lame is that? It's 10:33 my time. But even though I am the queen of this kingdom, being a queen takes a lot of work, as Diana would tell you. So I unfortunately have to get up early and run my personal kingdom and hopefully get paid. Yeah. So that was Matthew. I will probably, oh yeah, I don't want to go to bloopers, haha. I will probably go back and, you know, get the other endings if there, I assume there are 3, considering there are, like, you know, 3 other pictures. We'll see. Well, probably not 3 other endings, but there's at least one more ending, clearly. We'll have to, get those, though I'm a little, part of me doesn't even want to, because you know, it would be the turning into, you know, just a little plaything ending, and I'm not sure if there's another one. Really not sure. So, well, just gonna let that sink in for a while. So yeah, the next one will either be getting Matthew's bad ends, or moving on to one of the other boys. Like I said, I've already done Damien. Obviously, Shadow's sub route sucked. It made me like cry because I killed Diana. And we're never doing that again, ever. I think, let's see, extras? It's super sensitive. Extras, gallery. So we have James, Eric, and Sam left. Do we have any extras on general now? I don't remember getting that. I know we did. I forgot. So, Sam, Eric, or James? My instinct is that we will go for Eric next. He is this lovely suave man. He's the more flirty stereotype. I bet his sex scenes would be like so sexy. But sorry, we can't read those together. So anyway, this is dragging on forever. Thanks for watching. If you're here live, thank you so much. And if you are probably one of the very few who are visiting my realm on YouTube's Visiting from the Future, thank you as well. And I will hopefully have you enjoy my realm, my kingdom in the next video. Or stream, I should say. Sayonara.